Adam Armstrong here with Todd Clever. We've just heard from you at the Irish Consulate, and as I say, I was going to ask you about how you transitioned to retired rugby life now, but it sounds like you're still doing a bit of playing. Are we going to see you lace up your boots this season, or are you done?
Not with the US team anymore. It's that time has come and gone, and great career with that. Enjoyed it and ended on my own terms, which was huge. But I love the sport and I have fun with it. So as long as I'm playing rugby with a smile on my face, get to travel around the world, and play with my buddies, I'll do that for a little bit longer.
Will we see you in the MLR?
That's a big question. I'm not too sure. I can't say yes, I can't say no. Right now I'm focusing on the business side of things, of being a co-owner and the admin side, the management side, and getting the players in the right positions for it. But I have a few more months to decide if I'm wanting to play that competitive rugby.
And have you enjoyed that transition from playing now to co-owner and management?
I've enjoyed it. I've worked real hard as a player, and I always wanted to retire to something, not just retire from rugby. So I have this opportunity to retire to a co-owner, whatever it may be with that sort of thing. So the future is bright with rugby, and especially with the great minds that are across America that are involved, investing their time and money into this MLR. I think it's going to be a great success. So I'm happy to be on board.
So we won't see you as an Eagle anymore, but how does USA Rugby elevate current Eagles and future Eagles to really become world-class players and therefore elevate the team to a world-class team?
Yeah, I think we just need to get that pathway set in stone. It hasn't been a very clear pathway, and it's changed a few times with various head coaches that we've had. Once we have a pathway starting at age 12, 14, 16, 19, 20, All-Americans through that. So once you sort of have that age group at the bottom going forward, and knowing it's like what they aspire to, what their goals are, who they want to be, what kind of rugby player they want to be, you kind of are able to get the cream of the crop and getting people. Like when I started playing rugby when I was 15 years old, I didn't know that there's professional rugby. I didn't know that there's international rugby. And 2 years later, I was touring the world. A year later, when I was 19, I was in the Eagles camp. So we got to have, that change completely. So I was very fortunate with my career, but, we really want to have a pathway going forward to that professional rugby, to the national team.
And we heard at Austin Black's 50th anniversary this last week, and Dan Payne was talking about the youth is really the key. The key pathway and getting more people under 12 playing. You spoke a little bit about that before. How do you think that USA Rugby really does that? What is the key to getting young kids playing below the age of 12?
Yeah, I mean, Dan Payne's hitting it right on the head of the nail. So he's laid it out there. Here's a great opportunity for us, and I think that's what we have is an opportunity. And the people that are investing their time and starting these youth and rookie rugby and play rugby USA across America, they're not doing it for financial gain. They're doing it for the love of the sport. And once we have those kids getting into it, falling in love with it, and aspiring to play at the top level, then you really have an opportunity to be a force to reckon with. And obviously it's not going to be an overnight thing for Americas, but you're thinking that 12 to 16 year mark is where we can really capitalize on it. Okay, let's switch tacks a little bit here. Who is the toughest opponent you ever played against? Yeah, I've had great opportunities to play some good teams and some good players. Yeah, I mean, geez, toughest. I mean, that's a tough. I honestly, I mean, you when I think of it, and getting run over from some of my teammates to holding bags to playing in Super Rugby to test matches, it's there's a list of them that I don't want to give too much credit, but I know, like, Jerry Collins, I remember him, running with full steam ahead at me, and, you remember these points of, very iconic players in the game that have done it, but, he might be up there for sure.
Is there anyone who you wished you could have played with from any team, any nationality?
I remember when I first started playing rugby, obviously John Malama was at the peak of his game and, you know, playing very, very well for the All Blacks. And I remember stating whenever I, you know, watched international rugby and I saw him, I was like, oh, I won't play international rugby while he's playing. You know, that's just, you know, just a fear of what he was doing to the opposition. And funny enough, when I moved to New Zealand, they contracted him with North Harbour, and I was contracted with North Harbour. So we actually played a couple of games at North Harbour together and club rugby. So that was probably like a dream come true. And holding a bag when he's tackling, or being in the weight room when he's doing, you know, insanely amount of squats on top of a Bosu ball, and just the core strength, and just the, you know, I learned a lot about professionalism, you know, through his actions, because it wasn't about that, it was about the time and effort he put away from the field to that. So that was probably, you know, a dream come true to be around, you know, him as a character and as a, you know, teammate and friend.
So would you say he was one of the best teammates you had on a field? Who else did you really enjoy playing with, and who else did you really enjoy being with off the field?
When you're coming up, and my contract was very small in New Zealand, but having those sort of opportunities to play with, you know, big names, and I'll always remember, like, you know, coming in, you know, some guys were on big coin with, you know, AB contracts, like, you know, there's like Luke McAllister, that was a great guy. There's Billy Wakasadua, you know, Fijian guy that played, you know, for the Blues, and great guy. And then you move to South Africa and having great teammates there as well that were Springboks, like Jacques Fourie, you know, it just, you know, remember going to his bachelor party, you know, going to his wedding guest and everything else. So I mean, you have these like friendships that you know, still, you know, keep in contact with, and great teammates, and almost more so than you think just on the field and the training, to, you know, them taking you out to lunch or having a coffee with, and, you know, the list goes on from, you know, George Smith in Japan, and, you know, playing against him in Super Rugby, playing against him in Japan, and then, you know, it's pretty remarkable of the characters, you know, this, and I still have a bottle of champagne that George Gregan gave me for my daughter was born, you know, those sort of things is, you know, you remember more so than on-field stuff.
What was your favorite game you ever played in? Do you have one?
There's been some memorable moments, and I was thinking that because I was asked that question earlier, and the first thing that popped up, obviously we're at the Irish, you know, consulate and basically embassy for these guys, and one great game was USA versus Ireland, 2011, September 11th, 2011. In New Zealand for the World Cup. So that was pretty awesome. Just the feel and the atmosphere. Another one would have been 2007 against England, first World Cup game. That was my first start at the World Cup, which was great. First cap, you know, that's obviously big. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on. I have such great memories, like, you know, playing rugby with a smile on my face and enjoying it, and, you know, teammates aside and opposition that you've, you know, looked up to, and some I feared, and, you know, having those opportunities to prove yourself. So there's a long list of that.
So with such great memories, we hear a lot from athletes who leave their sport that it can be quite difficult to replace that. Would you think you'll find that, or do you think that you're ready to move on and move on to new challenges?
I'm happy to move on from my international career. You know, it was a great one. It was, you know, 15 years doing all I could, putting USA Rugby first, above and beyond any contracts. And I've missed out on a few good contracts, but I knew that that's what USA Rugby, you know, would be for the best, to put that first, and I was dedicated and signed on and wanted for the cause. So there's a lot of passion in rugby, and there's a lot of great things about it, and, you know, I don't have, you know, regrets for doing any of those things, because you know, there's no accident why, you know, I have 76 caps. It's because I would say no to my club and say yes to USA Rugby.
If you could start your career all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
I don't think so. I put my priorities, right, and I'm a big goal setter, short-term and long-term goals, and everything was, for a reason, and everything was, for an end goal, and I wanted to play top-level rugby. I wanted to be a professional. I wanted to play international rugby as many times as I could, and to walk away with still some gas in the tank, I won't have regrets not going back anymore, especially on the way I was able to exit, beating Canada in my hometown with all the friends and family. Daughter ran me out. I mean, that was amazing, and I don't want to spoil that and overstep my boundaries. I've had other opportunities to go back to South Africa, but I have such great memories, at Ellis Park and running out of that tunnel, where Nelson Mandela was touching the walls and he ran out. So I mean, I have such fond memories, and I wouldn't want to spoil it with a performance where I couldn't back up from before. And I'm excited for my next chapters in life of moving on towards the management and business side.
Brilliant.